Okay, well, now we are going to do the absolute everyone's favorite part of the semester that we have all just been overjoyed for, which is reviewing the syllabus. Now, most people hate going over the syllabus. I get that, but I have to remind you that the syllabus, going over it at least once and really making sure you understand it, it's like absolutely such a major help to doing well in the course. If you can just understand the key points of the syllabus, you're going to be miles ahead. So with that in mind, I'm going to hope that you've read it, but I'm also going to pull out a few points in this video that may be relevant. So here's my contact information. I have a few dumb jokes in the syllabus just to make it slightly less boring to read this thing. My office is in the Goodrich building at the Kenai Peninsula College campus. I'm not in Anchorage, I'm down here in Kenai Soldotna. However, if you cannot make it to Kenai Soldotna, or even if you live here and you just don't want to come to campus, that's totally fine. You can also meet with me by Zoom. My office hours are Wednesday 1 to 3. However, I understand that that's in the middle of the workday for many people and may not work for everyone. So please feel free to just shoot me an email and we can definitely find other times. And I'm always happy to meet to talk about any concerns you have with the class, to review concepts that might not be making sense, but also just to say hi or to talk about things you're finding interesting, like it's supposed to be a resource for you. I know that online classes can sometimes feel kind of detached, so I'm hoping that if you feel like you want to talk during office hours or by appointment, that you will feel very, very welcome to do that. This describes what the course is about. This gives you sort of the key learning outcomes of the course and then how we're testing for that. So this is sort of, according to the university, what this course is supposed to be about. There is no, basically, I won't read all these verbatim for you, you can read them, but basically it's saying we're going to look at the specific different cultural groups, Alaska Native cultural groups and languages. We're going to look at sort of that from a historical perspective, as well as a present day perspective. And we are going to kind of use multiple different sources of information and talk about the strengths and weaknesses of those. We're going to look at all sorts of things from environment to belief systems, to sort of how people structure their societies and do. And then we're going to be kind of talking about the impacts and effects and changes related to Russian and American entrance into Alaska. There's no textbook for the course. I don't do textbooks in any of my courses. The format of the course is that it's online through Blackboard. Everything is on Blackboard. Each week you will have several topics, what I'm calling modules, and you will, for each of those modules, there will be readings and there will also be lecture videos. The lecture videos for each module or topic will usually not be more than 1 to 2 hours. Sometimes they'll actually be a bit less, like 40 minutes, but I try not to make them too overly long. And I do try to break them up into smaller pieces, so it's not quite as annoying to, you can kind of do it in chunks. And so anyways, there will be, for each module, there will be a few lecture videos, and then there will be a couple of readings. I try to keep the readings to a dull roar. Like, you'll see that I've told you how many pages there are each week. And you'll notice that we never really go above about 25 pages or 30 pages. And even though it's a summer accelerated course, where in theory each week is like 3 weeks of a normal fall winter semester, even still there's a limit to how much people can read and actually like absorb. So we're not going to be reading more than about 30 pages a week, and sometimes quite a bit less. So each week there will be some topics, there will be videos to go with those topics, there will be some readings to go with those topics. You'll notice that the vast majority, not all, but the vast majority of readings are by Alaska Native people. That's intentional on my part. I think that that is one of the best ways to learn about Alaska Native cultures. I think that can also be really beneficial to have in our readings, since my background is somebody that does research with and among Alaska Native and other Native groups, but that's different than being sort of an insider to or raised in a community. And so, you kind of have different perspectives there. And so I hope the readings are helpful. Each week there will also be assignments due, whether that's homework assignments like this introduction thing you do the first week, or whether that's a test or both. Typically the weeks run from Sunday to Saturday. Sunday is the first day of the week. That's when all the content will be up, if not earlier. Saturday is when the homework's due. However, this first week, since the term starts on a Thursday, we have like an extra long week of like 10 days. What else? The total points of the class are out of 1,000, and which makes your grade pretty easy to calculate, right? Basically, you need 900 to get an A, 800 to get a B, and so forth. The tests are worth 200 points each, so 20% for each of the 3 tests. The tests are open Blackboard, and what I mean by that is you can use the videos on Blackboard and the readings while you're taking the test. However, it is not open Neighbor. You can't, it's not open Google. You shouldn't be using ChatGPT. That's against the rules. Don't be using sort of anything other than what's on Blackboard. The assignments, there are 4 of them. They're worth 50 points each. Most of them are some kind of, or half of them are related to your research paper, kind of helping you like ramp up to the research paper and get some feedback as you're going along so that you don't feel kind of like you don't know how you're doing on the paper until you turn it in. The research paper is something you should not stress too much about. It is 3 to 4 pages long, single spaced, but not like, 30 pages long or something like that. So we will talk more about that later, but basically you will talk about a culture that you have chosen. You'll research some of the traditional cultural practices or beliefs of that group, usually like 3 or 4, and then you'll talk about a current topic related to that community. So I've got a video about that on Blackboard under research paper information. You should definitely check it out. A few grading policy things. Basically, my late policy, I think, is pretty generous. Basically, it's -5% per calendar day. So definitely totally worth your while to turn stuff in late, especially if it's, just a couple of days late. Like I would say very much worth your while. Having said that, I'm also pretty generous with extensions if people have emergencies or like, major life stuff come up. It just kind of depends on the situation. It is at my discretion, but when in doubt, feel free to email me. Let's talk about it. Maybe yours is a situation where you really should just get an extension, right? So just let me know. And if I do give you an extension and say, okay, I'm not taking any points off and you've got an extra week to turn it in or whatever, just make sure that you put a note on your homework so that I don't have to try to memorize every single person's extensions or lack thereof. Okay, it just makes it easier for me. I will let you know of extra credit. This is the reading schedule and topic schedule. This is really, these 2 pages are just worth their weight in gold for you, right? It tells you exactly what we're doing each week, what topics we're covering, what readings we're doing, what assignments are due that week. And then you'll notice, by the way, that the course is divided into like 3 different major units. The first one is kind of a bunch of introductory topics, like talking about colonialism in our state, talking about tribes and tribal organizations, talking about sort of what things would have looked like here in 300 years ago, talking about sort of what are some of the major cultural groups. Then the second unit is called cultures or lifeways, and basically we will look at individual cultures and do more of like a deep dive into them. And then the final unit, and we won't be able to talk about every single culture, but we will be able to talk about quite a few of them. And then the final unit is survivance, but basically what that really is like kind of several different overarching topics that we end with that affect many different tribes. So things like environmental and economic issues, or things like language loss and revitalization. Finally, here's the course policies. Nothing that you're going to be terribly shocked by. A couple of things to know: accessibility. If you need accommodations, please just let me know. It is very, very helpful for you to get a Disability Support Services official letter that will let me know precisely how to make accommodations. Okay, and so I ask that people do that when requesting accommodations, if at all possible. But the point is, I have rarely, if ever, maybe never, found an accommodation that I couldn't accommodate. So just let me know what I can do to make sure that this class is good and successful for everyone. Academic honesty, right? I need to be able to tell what you've learned. Please do not be academically dishonest. I reserve the right to get zeros and so forth as needs be. Nowadays, kind of the biggest, one of the concerns that is on a lot of people's minds now is ChatGPT. That technology has some really cool uses as well, but it has also sometimes, I've seen it used once or twice in dishonest ways for a test. Please just don't do that. It's really kind of cheating yourself out of the learning, and it's cheating other people. I don't think it's good. Class atmosphere and safety. I'll say also about ChatGPT while I'm on the topic. I have had it answer questions for my test and also questions related to the topic of this course. And I will tell you that ChatGPT sometimes comes up with things that are like 80% right and 20% very obviously wrong. And so you should also beware using ChatGPT, not just because it's to answer a question, not just because it's against the rules, but also just because it will often give you incorrect information. Hey, I have a typo. I jumped from 4 to 6. Okay, so class atmosphere and safety. Obviously, we're not meeting in person, but we do sometimes interface in a discussion board, particularly this first week, actually. When we do so, please just be respectful of each other. And in general, whether it's a discussion board or an assignment that you're turning in, I would advise you to use respectful language in an anthropology class. The nature of an anthropology class is we'll be talking about cultures. I would advise and require that we avoid disrespectful language, right? Pejorative slurs, things like that. So just be aware of kind of how we're talking about groups of people, particularly in the discussion boards, right? And making sure that this feels like a good environment for everybody. All right, that's it. That's the syllabus. You survived. Good job.